Now, it's my pleasure to tell you why we are indeed the luckiest university in the world, because our 16th president, Dr. Michael Crow, walked in the door and said, "We will not do business as usual. We will not do business as it has been done for centuries and centuries and centuries. We will be the new American university." And since his time here, we have seen broad, sweeping changes in our institution. We have seen dramatic increases in inclusion in our students. We have the highest number of first-time college attendees in our ranks. Dr. Crow has done amazing things for technology. We have been named the #1 innovative university in the country, ahead of Stanford and MIT, I'm just saying. So says US News and World Report. Dr. Crow also practices what he preaches. He teaches regularly. He continues to publish his latest book, Designing the New American University. And last year, Dr. Crow made headlines, and speaking of Broadway, on Times Square, on the media board, with our partnership with Starbucks and its employees, so that you can work for Starbucks and finish your degree online at Arizona State University for free. Yeah, what is right? So it stands to reason that Time magazine has named Dr. Crow one of the top 5 university presidents. My president, Dr. Michael Crow.
Thanks, Colleen. Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. I want to see if I can, you get too much of the show here too fast. There. So, good morning, welcome everybody. Let me try to get this set up right. Is that better? So, good morning, welcome to Arizona State. It's kind of funny, you know, when you have folks come in from other colleges and so forth. One of the things that we've learned about change and learned about adaptation and learned about becoming a more democratic institution, that we've learned about becoming more inclusive, that we've learned about correcting this lack of inclusivity. One of the things that we've learned about not following the path of other universities, basically at the stage of evolution of this institution in 2002, when I came over from Columbia University, where I'd been for 12 years as a faculty member and one of the provosts there, in coming here, was the standard manual was, well, you've inherited this upstart research university, and the first thing you need to do is drop the bottom third of your class. Become more elitist in your admission standards. That's what is done at all of the other large, evolving public research universities, because it's really difficult to deal with those students who are B+ students coming out of high school, or solid B average students coming out of high school. You also need to constrain your enrollment immediately, and that will help you to do that. The other thing you need to do is start a medical school. Now, you know, hell for college presidents is you arrive and they say to you, not only do you have one football team, you have a football team and a medical school. And so let me back up from that. So we decided to do a weird thing here. We decided to find a moment in time when the model of egalitarian access to a university, to a public university, was at least idealized, although not fully actualized. And we picked California 1950, California 1960. To be admitted to the University of California, anybody here from University of California? A few people, yeah. To be admitted to the University of California in 1950 or 60 at either Berkeley or Los Angeles, you needed to have a B average, 3.0 or better. You needed to have a B in 15 particular courses they wanted you to take, and you were admitted. E.O. Lawrence was already famous. I'm not going to belabor this too much. So what we decided to do was we already had in 2002 the admission standards of the University of California from 1950, almost word for word, same thing, 16 courses, B average, B in those courses, you're admitted. We decided to keep those admission standards, but to actually make it work, because it wasn't working, it wasn't diverse. It didn't make any difference how low the tuition is. Kids that came from families with no money couldn't come. It didn't make any difference that you were admitting B students. Lots of families still wouldn't send their B student for lots of different reasons. In 1991, this institution, which was already large at that point, had only 3% of its undergraduates that were Pell eligible. By the way, about the same as the percentage at the time at most other major research universities. In 2002, 10% of our students were Pell eligible. Today, 40% of our students are Pell eligible. Today, 46% of our freshman class of 12,000 are students of color. This is a metamorphosis in the logic and the design of the school. We sort of grew tired of this notion that somehow you could achieve egalitarian outcomes for our democratic society as it evolves by kind of a false rhetoric. I used to be a trustee of a little college in Brunswick, Maine called Bowdoin College. So I was a trustee of that college for many years, and we competed against other colleges, Williams, Amherst, Colby, Bates, schools like that. Same conference that we were in. So I was a trustee of that college. And here's an interesting thing about those colleges. They're fabulous examples of Greek academies. Unbelievable assets for tiny groups of students working with a tiny group of faculty members. And so one of those schools, not naming which one of those schools along the way in the debate under President Obama that somehow we need to democratize higher education and scale it in a way that our society has never achieved before. Along the way, colleges showed up and they said, oh, we'll help. We're all for that. So one of those colleges, in that conference of those colleges in New England, the elite four-year exemplars of the Greek Academy in the United States, they said, we'll admit 10% more students from poor families in the state that they're located. I won't tell you what state because then you'll figure out what college. But it's one of those ones that you'll know instantly. 10% more. We're all in for getting these poor kids into the institution. We're all over it. Now, of course, you know, just to back up a little bit, so if you're from the bottom quartile of family incomes in the United States, you have less than a 10% chance ever graduating from college. If you're from the bottom half of family incomes in the United States, you have a less than 15% chance of ever graduating from college. And if you are born into a family in a country that attempted to defeat class-based elitism in the upper quarter of family incomes, even if you are stupid, you have an 80% chance of getting a college degree. So that one little college in that one unidentified New England state said, we're all in, we're going to increase the number of poor kids from Massachusetts by 10%. So how many kids from lower family incomes did they have from their state? They had 53. So they're all in for their additional 5. And then they said, we're going to go all in for Native Americans. We're going to go over the moon. You know, we were chartered, as was Harvard, by the way. We were chartered to serve the native indigenous peoples populating what became the United States. Read the charter of Harvard College 1650. It's probably not remembered any longer. But these other little New England colleges, after and before Prince Philip's War, a war you might not remember, in the 17th century, one that was almost won by the Native Americans, they said, this particular college said, we're all in for these Native Americans. We want them. We're going to go over the top. We're going to have a 1,000% increase, which is relatively easy because they didn't have any Native American students. We have thousands of Native American students. Thousands. We have thousands of veterans. We got in this football game. Anybody here from Duke University? We got in this football game a couple years ago against Duke, and we won the football game. And during the football game, I'm giving you a little of our attitude here. So we got in this football game, and we won the football game. But during the football game, the marching band for Duke comes over, marching, and they spell this word. D-U-M-B, when they face our students and fans. D-U-M-B, little smartasses. Why do they do that? Well, they say that stands for Duke University Marching Band. Okay. Adolescent kids. Well, we didn't take too kindly to it. So we went and looked at some stuff just that, well, maybe we are dumb because we somehow admit B students. Because apparently that's the measurement of dumb. The measurement of the quality of most universities, Columbia, I got tenure there, I grew up there, evolved there, was did we admit a lower percentage of students at Columbia than Harvard or not? Front page story, New York Times, front page story. Stanford is now the it school because it admits almost no one. And no, their search committee did not call me. And so this thing about exclusion and scarcity being the driver is antithetical to where the world is headed. We are no longer a place where a few people have access to an elite education. It doesn't mean you have to be an elite person to have access to an elite education. How about being a hard-working high school student from any family without any kind of financial barrier whatsoever, and you will have access to a research grade, high creativity, design school, art school, music school, engineering school, business school of the finest academics that the world can put together, and you, Mary Jane Smith or Jose Gomez, whatever your name happens to be, you have access to that faculty, not just the way the system presently works. So, I could show you a chart right now that I'm working on for a talk I'm giving in Austin on Monday that would blow your socks off in terms of how far behind we are. But let me just give you a couple other statistics, tell you very quickly our charter that we have evolved here, and then show you where we're taking that charter. So, you as taxpayers have contributed to the federal government's fantastic generosity. If you come from a low-income family in the United States, you can have eligibility. If you're at roughly the median income or below, you have eligibility for a Pell Grant. A Pell Grant is thousands of dollars to help you to pay to go to college. $500 billion have been invested in that program in the last couple decades, last 3 decades. $500 billion. The majority of the people that took the Pell Grants have no degree. They never graduated from any college for any degree, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and guess who gets blamed for that? The student. Not the school, not the teachers, not the professors, the student is blamed for that. So what do you all call somebody that doesn't graduate from college? You call them a college dropout, loser. We live in a society that labels a person that didn't finish college a college dropout. How many of you are from public universities? So what is the average 4-year graduation rate for a public university in the United States? It's in the high 30s. Anybody from Cal State? A couple of you. What is the average 4-year graduation rate for all 23 campuses of the California State University in 4 years? You're higher, San Diego State. Now you guys are 30. 17.8%. And guess who finds their way to these egalitarian public colleges like San Diego State and Arizona State and other places like us? Every kid from every family that doesn't have any resources that you can possibly imagine, with hope and aspiration. And what do we do to them? Well, I'm sorry, you're not worthy. You didn't fit into the model. So we decided to get off the track. We weren't going to chase Ohio State. We weren't going to chase UCLA or other schools that we should have emulated. We decided to get off that rat race track, and we decided to build a new charter, to build a differentiated university, and to modernize the institution. Not in lieu of those other schools. Not because we want Michigan to go away. Michigan's a fantastic school. UCLA is a fantastic school. But if every school follows Michigan or UCLA, if every school goes down that path, this country is wrecked. because there's no room. There's no room at Bowdoin. There's no room at Columbia. There's no room at Vanderbilt. There's no room. So how do you deal with room? So we built a charter, and then I'm going to show you 4 slides very quickly. Our charter, you can find it. Hard-fought outcome. Our charter is that we will not measure our success based on who we exclude, but who we include and how they succeed. And then we get these sort of often sarcastic, strange academic reactions. Well, I guess that means you're going to just admit everybody, and we know that that failed at the City University of New York, and City College almost went down because of open admissions. I said, no. We took the admission standards of the great public research universities of 1950, and we're living off those. We think they were pretty good. And then the second part of our charter is that we'll do research and discovery and creativity, not just to benefit ourselves and to benefit the public indirectly, but to benefit the public directly and to measure our success against it. And the last thing that we will do is that we will take some responsibility for the outcome of our community. If K through 12 is failing, I'm willing to say, blame it on the universities and the colleges. It's their fault. We'll take the blame. It is our fault. We operate under the premise often in the world that we operate in that we are faultless, we are perfect. We are neither. And so, having said all of that, if you were thinking about and wondering about how the world is going to be changing in the future, here's what we can expect. The rising changes on the planet and in our own country are so significant that our business, whether you're at an art school, a design school, a music school, a literature program, a creative writing program, it doesn't make any difference what you're at, engineering, none of us are prepared for what lies ahead. So at what we call the Tempe Normal School, that's where you're sitting, and that's what we used to be, the Territorial Teachers College, for whatever the heck Arizona is, we're not really sure sometimes. There's a few of us out here living with the pioneers. We sometimes refer to Phoenix as the world's largest mining camp. 4.1 million people. And so far, they let us do what we need to do. So let me just quickly show you a couple things. So we're now operating in the following realms. This is the same realm all of you operate in, perhaps a little bit different. What we call realm 1, the core. Imagine the white dot there, just in your mind. Imagine the white dot is this like black hole, this unbelievably powerful thing called knowledge. You could put whatever you want in there, creativity, you could put whatever you want in there. Human existence, all of our ideas of humanity, everything that we know, everything that the universities have developed, everything that we have evolved from is that little white dot. And around that white dot is what we've built as the core of our university. And we get criticized a lot. We're like, we are unbelievably criticized. They're so big they can't be any good. We had a professor here from the University of Michigan who was a part of our accreditation review, and he says, I don't even know what you people are talking about. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. None of this stuff that you're talking about can even be true. I think that year we either tied or were right behind Michigan in Fulbrights. And so we said, well, that's true. You can count that. And so the core here for us, realm 1, is the heart of who we are. Full immersion on campus, and in our case, technology-enhanced learning. In that circle, we have 71,000 students and 20,000 faculty and staff. Call it 100,000 people. Those 100,000 learners across 400 subjects, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of micro-learning environments, we have learned something in the doubling of our 4-year graduation rate, in the movement of our student body to be actually representative of the entire socioeconomic diversity of this country. We have learned that our faculty are unbelievably powerful, unbelievably creative, and when enhanced, if they need it, by technology, are able to extend and push themselves out in a significant way. It's changed everything. Now, if you're teaching organ in our music school, our organ professor is here, Kimberly, you might not need technology, or you might. So it's not a ubiquitous thing. It's not run like the army. Oh, here's your tools, here's what you do. It's that we have found a way to cut across 71,000 of the most diverse learners that you can possibly imagine. We have 11,000 international students, 12,000 freshmen, 10,000 transfer students from community colleges, students from all 50 states, 6,000 students in our Institute for Design and the Arts, 17,000 engineering students, doubled in size in the last 8 years with a tripling of diversity, and an increase in the number of graduates by 2.5 times, with enhancement in quality recognized by both the market, the awards, the graduate schools, everything. So everything that I'm talking about, I could just stop, and people would leave here, half of you would say, can't be true, how's it possible? It's possible because we have an innovative faculty who have decided to embrace technology as needed to move that forward, to be able to do things that we couldn't do before. Now that university is backed up by all of this. That's our library and our, whatever you want to call it, that's our way of doing things, our art studios, our museum. Every asset that we have is to the left. Everything that we invest in, everything that's in the core that we're able to bring to bear, all the journals and the programs and the talks and everything that we're projecting, whatever it happens to be, that is us. What we call the ideas and the means of the university. There's no diminishment of that. There's no undercutting of that. There's no changing of that. There's no reduction in rigor. There's no reduction in quality. I'm an academic. All the other leaders of the institution are academics. We are professors. We are teachers. We are knowledge purveyors. We are artists. We are dreamers. We are all of these things. That's who we are. But we don't think that we can be of the greatest value to our society, at least here, if we just follow the previous models, because none of the previous models are scalable. So now we also teach in this realm, realm 2, digital immersion, online technology enhanced, for which we are relentlessly harassed for being losers. You must be a pack of lowbrow losers. Remember that book, Highbrow, Lowbrow, about opera? Anybody ever read that? Fantastic. It told me the whole thing, highbrow, lowbrow, is nothing but a construct. Opera's fantastic regardless of who's attending. We just decided now that only rich people get to attend. It used to be just the opposite. So that taught me a lesson, highbrow, lowbrow, taught me a lesson that basically we don't know what we're talking about. So what we decided to do in Realm 2 was to take this fantastic Realm 1 core environment that we have and say to people in Realm 2, digital immersion, online, technology-enhanced learning, like our Starbucks program. In that little thing, we have 20,000 students in that Realm 2, pursuing degrees, all admitted to the university, no general admission, same admission requirements. It just turns out that the 29-year-old woman who dropped out of college in the first semester because she got pregnant didn't have a chance to go back to college. And our system says, well, too bad for you, lady. You're out. Good luck. So that's who's in our realm, too. All the people that didn't finish college. In this state alone, 1,100,000 people started college and didn't finish. This institution never reached out to them, never touched them, never was able to approach them, never able to engage them. What a bunch of losers we are. A public university abandoning the people that didn't finish. Now, if you admit only A students, guess what? Almost all of them finish. If you admit only A+ students, all of them finish. So what? You haven't accomplished anything. If anything, you might have weakened them. So in Realm 2, we now have 20,000 students, but just ask yourself this. So we have 100 online degree programs in the humanities, in the arts, in science, in engineering, all very carefully articulated by our faculty. We can't do many more degrees than that, because you can't do every degree in this space, but you can do some. But we don't stop there. So when we said in Realm 3, we work in a third realm, and all of this should portend to you our consensus view of where the world's headed. So somebody told me along the way, I could be wrong, that there's 7.3 billion people on this planet. And somebody told me along the way that both in this country